Hey everybody, good afternoon. It's Rob. I'm going to talk about Hank Aaron and more specifically what Hank Aaron's life and career can teach us about racism and white supremacy. Now, Hank Aaron died today. If you don't know who he was an incredible baseball player from the 60s and 70s. He actually, for decades, held the all time home run record. He surpassed Babe Ruth as the home run king until Barry Bonds surpassed Hank Aaron. Um, and there's arguments there too, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm not really a sports person. When I was a little kid, I was hugely into baseball. It was like my thing. Before I really got heavily into like music and stuff, baseball was like my main pastime and my main activity. I played it, I watched it, and guys like Hank Aaron and Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays, like players from that era, which was an era before I was born, they almost seemed like mythical beings to me, and I was just in awe of these classic baseball players and what they accomplished and the amazing tales I heard of their prowess on the baseball field. It wasn't until I was an adult, and I'm talking years and years later, that I had even heard of anyone mentioned that while Hank Aaron was striving to accomplish the home run record, he faced all kinds of just hateful and resentful, bitter racism from white people all across the United States. Um, and I think there's a lot of lessons we can learn here about the folly and the stupidity and the vapidity of white supremacy. Now, first of all, being a little kid, it didn't even occur to me that it's like a big deal that, like, why would you care that a black player is beating a white player's record? Like, why would this bother you? And it still doesn't even kind of register with me why anyone would have that particular attitude. But the fact remains that attitude still exists in our society. It's the attitude of white supremacy and racial resentment. Um, and basically, what this tells us is that feelings of white supremacy don't come from a place of rational examination of the characteristics of whites versus all other races, but rather it's built upon fear and resentment and just like basic just anger and hatred. Because to be able to, if you're a baseball fan, to be able to live in a time where you're going to watch an extremely gifted player surpass a record that was on the books for like 3 or 4 decades by that point, it should be a magical moment for all fans of baseball. Um, that's not like watching a World Series game and rooting for one team and being disappointed because the other team lost. If you don't want a gifted player to pass a record, um, that's weird. That's bizarre. It should be just something that to be excited about if you're a fan of baseball. But a lot of people weren't. A lot of people were mad, and they said all kinds of nasty, dirty things about Hank Aaron, and tried to delegitimize his accomplishment. I'm not going to go into detail about what was said or done, but you can all read art. There's all kinds of articles that detail this stuff, and it shows how pathetic the idea of white supremacy really is. Because first of all, if you really believed that for whatever reason, you know, white people should be held as the supreme specimens of hitting home run baseball players, uh, that is easily dismissed by the fact that Hank Aaron was on his way to accomplishing that. So these people who acted that way, they haven't gone away in spirit or character. We still have this same idea These same white supremacist beliefs are still pervasive in our society. We see them all the time. You know, if let's say a black woman wins Best Actress of the Year at the Oscars or whatever, it only takes a few moments to log into whatever social media site you want, where you'll have all kinds of white people talking about, oh, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. Meryl Streep was better in this movie that year. This is, you know, she shouldn't have won it. You know, and we still see this attitude. And it's a contradictory attitude, because if your argument is that white people are better, then it should be impossible that a black person or a person of any other race would somehow surpass white people. So white supremacy, it's just a vapid, stupid, destructive, pointless idea that unfortunately, while perhaps culturally it's not as acceptable as it once was, it's still with us, and it's still something we must be on guard against.